Welcome to another episode of Grief Talk. Everything you want to know about grief and more. I'm your host, Fawn Solis. As an author, mentor, and bereaved mom since 2005, through guest interviews and coaching, here's where you'll always get great content that is inspiring and practical to help you heal after loss. Today's guest is Ashmeeta Madhav, a resilience and grief support advocate, educator, entrepreneur, and author, marked by loss experiences including miscarriage, rejection, her parents, and husband. These challenges immersed her in the depths of intense grief, leaving her feeling stuck and adrift. Ashmeeta embraced the path of self-discovery, recognizing the vital role of personal growth and the profound impact that our thoughts have on shaping our reality. Her book, What's Your Story, is designed to bring comfort, inspiration, and guidance to empower people navigating difficult times discover the strength within themselves to foster resilience and create a meaningful life. So welcome to the show, Ashmeeta. It's going to be a good episode.
Thank you for having me, Vaughn.
You're very welcome. So as I said in the introduction, audience, Ashmeeta does have experience with different types of loss. Ashmeeta, I'm just going to briefly recap here. So definitely miscarriage, rejection. I want to acknowledge that because it's very important how we go through grief, what we think of ourselves. You lost both your parents and your husband, so you were widowed early in life. Losing a spouse early is it's its own category when you don't expect it, and your husband did die from cancer, so you were also caregiving. There's a whole grief around that. So I want to talk about fear because so many people are terrified in grief, and I was too, for a bunch of different reasons. It could be new to us. My daughter's death was my first experience with grief other than grandparents. Didn't know anything about it. We're not grief literate. But the second thing I want to talk to you about really quickly is because we're so terrified and sometimes shocked and trauma, and then you became single, widowed, but alone. And you said you had to, deal with the finances and all the legal, whatever, taxes and all this stuff that you had not been involved in. That was hubby's job, and you will not be alone in that. So did you have someone in the midst of all of this chaos and going to bed with your thoughts, and having your self-talk over months and possibly even a couple years, however long, even maybe today you're still doing that. Did you have someone helping you with all that stuff that you had no involvement in?
Yes. So I had to, helping in the sense that, when you lose somebody, especially, I'm going to talk specifically from the point of a spouse, because we feel so vulnerable and we don't know who to trust. Oh. There's so much that's going on. We got to get the finances. We don't know. Sometimes it's like you get a surprise because you don't even know anything about your husband's, the financial side, like his company and where he worked and all of that kind of stuff. So just having to learn all of that stuff and gather all that information in the first place and then understand what that means for you. Sometimes it doesn't mean anything for you and you don't get anything. Sometimes you do. But we were fortunate in one aspect was we had a social worker as my husband's health was deteriorating. And one of the things that they told us was to make sure that we get his will, his, our affairs in order, because yes, a miracle can happen, but we're not, just want to make sure we're being realistic here. It's a very difficult topic to talk about. Not many people want to get a will. I don't want to get an advance direct. I don't want to think about those things. Why, It's not about me. So we had that discussion and we realized that it's not about him. It's not about us. It's about making sure the relevant information is in the hands of the people who need it when I am not around. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So with that hat on, we started this journey of getting all of the information that in one place. Even though we did that, it was still a journey on its own for me.
Oh gosh. Yeah. No, like I said, I've had people on who have been widowed, and even after decades together, having to now take over all those responsibilities that the husband did, and this, that, and just learning to be alone. Devastating for them. Very, very difficult. I have also done episodes, audience, on emergency preparedness, and I have talked about it with other people. Financial planning, get the will done, talk to your loved ones, make it even fun about if this happened, what would you want? Where do you want it? And since because we did none of that, Ashmeeta, before my daughter's death. We did have a will, and that was fine. I had never had a problem having a will, but it was the worst thing in the world, having to redo that will and take her off of it. That was awful. But it's like you said, it all starts and ends with you. How am I going to be impacted if I don't have this information? Even a DNR, folks, how are we going to be impacted if we do or don't have one, or you haven't made your wishes clear to your spouse or adult children? And understanding we're in the stage now, and I'm going to speak to any of the audience that might be where we are. Empty nesters for 10 years. We had children ranging in the 50s, 40, and 30s. And between us and our son is the last one together. And guess what? He doesn't want our condo. He doesn't want certain things that we would have just assumed passed down. So it's like not talking. And of course, this is age and experience dependent, but at least preparing, and you just hope that you don't need it. So I'm glad you're talking about that, Ashmeeta, because again, you were a young, unexpected widow, right? And it happens, right? We lose our kids. We lose our spouses. It happens. It might suck and we might not want to, but I wish that more people would just, and I've had conversations also with people and about how we're in North America. I know you come from a different, like South Africa, for example, and a different culture. And it'd be so interesting to find out if in other cultures that they are open to talking about death, because we sure as heck aren't in North America. We do not want to talk about death unless and until it happens. And then very briefly, and then only some types of death. So there's all these rules around it. Actually, if I could just be so, like questioning about in how you grew up and ideas and that formed in your head, is in your culture, are you open to the idea of talking about death, or is it also hush hush?
I don't know culture-wise whether it is really a thing, but I know in my family, my mom was very open, and we had discussions about all different types of things, including my dad as well. On a spiritual, he questioned everything. He didn't just believe what, the religion, he questioned. He was just that person. So we grew up in that type of a household. And my mom would always, my dad, both my parents, talk about death as if it was just something that was part of life. My dad, did say that, when I die, I'd like this, this, and this would happen.
Yeah.
Whatever things were. So
yeah,
those were things like, and I remember that, my brother remembered that. So we, at the point where we knew that, okay, this is heading in a direction and we're all really uncomfortable, but let's keep these emotions in yes, they're valid. Let's keep them in their space.
Yeah.
What is the logic? What is the brain saying? And what is the logical thing? What was that person's request? We thought we had a discussion with her ahead of time through our lives when we were young, and we knew what to do for her according to her wishes.
Don't you think in a way, though, Ashmeeta, that makes the grief, I'm not going to say less painful, but certainly less chaotic and confusing. And in a way, it, I think, helps us to really honor them, because you knew what they want. And when my mom died, she died just a few weeks after a very short hospital stay. And once I went to visit, and she was only 78, which I consider young. But one day I went to visit her in the hospital, and she insisted as I was, strolling with her down the hospital corridor, and she was hanging onto my arm, that I knew everything about financially. And she had some special things that were already spoken for to certain people and so on and so forth. And I'm like, Mom, you're not going to die. But you know what? She was gone within, I think it's 4 weeks. And it was a very sudden death. And because we knew, despite the fact that we were like, well, whatever, it's just her talking. But because we knew everything where it was, what needed to be done, we had everything cleaned up and done and everything in 10 days. And all the items, disposed of and sold, and, people wanted this and people wanted that. And frankly, maybe, maybe that's one of the reasons I never really struggled with anything, because we had acknowledged it. And, and I knew she sort of was ready to go, I guess. Anyway, we're not talking about that today, but people, I'm talking about you, Ashmeeta, and I'm talking about in those moments for anybody, those moments that can stretch into months, by the way, that you do have to deal with things. What would you say to the person, and again, keeping this in spousal loss, but that now has to be responsible for everything? And how did you kind of approach everything that you needed to do next? Now you're on your own and you got to deal with all these things. Everything. It's huge. Did you just take it one challenge at a time, one day at a time? Like, how did you do that?
Well, it initially did feel very overwhelming until I came to a point where I reminded myself that I need to do things as they happen, like, as you said, like as they happen, but I also need to be aware of myself and my emotions and how I'm feeling and honoring that as well. So basically taking care of yourself while also doing all of these things is very, very important. So acknowledging those feelings, acknowledging those thoughts that enter your mind, giving yourself time and the space to deal with things. So if I generally would complete a specific task in so much of time, and now I'm in the situation, my mind's not working and I'm just feeling totally overwhelmed, I still need to get this job done. I'm going to be a bit more kinder to myself. Practice, some of that empathy and some of those things that I'm looking for from people out there to give to me because I feel like a victim. I decided that instead of I know what I need. I need to be nurtured. I need someone to help me build that trust and that faith back up to help me feel hopeful again. The more I kept searching for it out there, the more despondent I became. So then I decided nobody's going to give this to me. And I'm stuck. So where am I going to get this? And I know I need this. I need this to help me feel like I'm alive again. That when I feel alive, then I can do things. I'll learn new things. I'll do whatever it is that I have to do with this new reality that I have. But I can't do it if I feel so dead. Inside. Because that's how I felt when my husband died. So the trick for me was, I'm not going to expect it from anybody else. I'm going to start giving it to myself.
Wow.
You're parenting yourself. The way you parent kids, the way you are so attentive to their needs, the way you are so empathetic to another human being who is struggling. I'm not saying do it for other people, but you have that quality in you already. You're able to do it for other people. Why do we not do it for ourselves?
So you're giving yourself permission to be gentle with yourself, understanding of yourself, kind to yourself, all part of the self-talk, not judgmental for whatever you're taking on. And this again, will be unique to all of us. But as I love to say over and over and over again, none of us invent emotions. We go through the gamut, and there's dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of negative ones. Grab an emotion wheel, you'll see, free online, and really understand what's driving you. But instead of being mad, blaming, wanting other people to fix us, it's coming from within. And I really think it really boils down to just loving ourselves. What do you think it boils down to, Ashmeeta?
It's self-love.
Right.
If I think of myself as this poor, widow who's, I'm lost without my husband and, my life is over, because then I will become that, because that's what I'm telling myself I am.
Right.
I can still live, though. I still have life in me.
You sure do.
That is my choice.
Yeah. All of this now, audience, as a reminder, whether you're going through this as well, you're an incredible inspiration, Ashmeeta. But just remember, for anybody watching this or listening to this, Ashmeeta, you're raising 3 children at the same time. So to also parent yourself, I think that's key. You've said it beautifully. It is absolutely key. And one of the tricks I learned many, many, many years ago is to imagine myself holding my palm up here for listeners, that you're yourself lying in your palm, and kind of like the universe is your hand, but you can also bring it to that you are your hand as the parent. So it's a little trick, a little method to do for manifesting and stuff like that. And where the universe, just like a parent wants to give their child anything, the universe wants to give us everything that we want. And being enveloped in the palm of the hand, just imagining yourself like that, beautiful in your pure light and energy, right? But it's an image you can also use to, let's just say, parent yourself, be kind to yourself, love yourself, and different types of our experiences, where we take on, it might not even be a death, it just might be childhood trauma that we take on and within for sometimes decades, and think everything was our own fault, and I should have done this and I should have done that and all this, and we're just really hard on ourselves for whatever reason. Having this beautiful image of yourself within the palm of whatever, yourself as a parent, the universe in a greater experience, we mostly are kind to each other. So be that, and be that loving person towards yourself. And that's really, I think, the crux of inner probing, is to be able to be aware of that and then actually practice it. What do you think?
Yes, I agree, definitely.
It is a lifelong practice, and it will change, Ashmeeta, depending on where we are in our grief journey and what we've done, as I said at the beginning, is with this grief, deciding what we want. So let's turn to thoughts for a moment now. I also want to kind of wrap this in with your book, What's Your Story, Intention, and so on. So thinking of those two together, we all have a story. So it's how we want to tell it. But I want you to explain it. What's Your Story all about, the intention of it? And I know you run a group related to What's Your Story, right? And what are you hoping people get from it? And how does this sort of tie into thoughts? And it's really one thing I want to really focus on here. It is very difficult to just change thoughts. It's you can tell yourself, oh, I want to be rich. Okay, I'm going to think rich. And then, you're never rich. So really what goes into changing your thoughts about what your story is?
So What's Your Story, basically, the reason I titled the book that way was because many years ago, well, I think it was after my mom passed away? Maybe just before that. I had a few other things go on in my life that really shook my world, like miscarriage and a rejection and things like that, which really made me question my worth. And I found that the thoughts that I had in my mind and the what I was attracting to me, I noticed a cycle, a similar type of experiences in different ways. I was attracting the same kind of stuff to me. And that's what intrigued me into sort of learning more about thoughts and emotions. And I read the book by Louise Hay, The Power is Within You, and that kind of stuff. That was way back then. Practiced meditation and journaling and all that kind of stuff. But the reason I say, well, what's your story is because when I decided, what came to a realization that the thoughts that I was having in my mind about any specific situation was actually not the other person's problem. It was not them, even though their actions were affecting me.
Yep.
I was always under the impression that they are doing things to me. Why that person continually behaves that way with me?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It upsets me. Why do they keep doing that to me?
Mm-hmm.
But there was one, my late husband had actually said this to me with that. I was sort of having a discussion with him about something, and he was not agreeing with me. And eventually he turns around and says to me, well, you know what? You're doing it to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're doing it to yourself, he said to me.
Mm-hmm.
And for the life of me, I could not understand what he meant.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't know how to explain this to you, but you are doing this to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a bit, for me to actually understand exactly what he meant by that. And that's what started the whole idea of my thoughts becoming my reality.
Mm-hmm.
It became a reality for me because I shifted the way I saw the other person. I took my focus off the actions that others were doing and put my focus onto myself.
That's really key and really important. And that is an episode on its own. Honest to goodness, is just talking about getting to that point where we're not in the blame game. I always say, what's the common denominator in any problem? And guaranteed it's us. Any relationship problem, it's kind of the same thing as saying you're doing it to yourself, or as my sister loves to say, you take yourself wherever you go. And if we look, at our past patterns, they will remain the same. They may come to us in different forms, different relationships, different situations, doesn't matter. But the pattern problem, or problem pattern, I guess I want to say, is going to be there until you recognize it and you no longer want it in your life. It's really that simple.
Yes.
We just don't have time to go down that, but your work is focused a lot in that area, is it not, Ashmeeta? Is helping people become aware of those thought cycles, self-talk, that sort of thing?
Yes, it's that, and also self-love, learning to, not let this experience become our reality and just let the experience be the experience. And
yeah, very key point. So, this podcast is designed just to introduce people to concepts. They may hear something, it might spark something in them, because I did just want to say it's very difficult for people in the blame game to take responsibility. And it takes a really big person, and it also takes the embracing of wanting to be responsible for your life. And to do that, we really, really, really have to look within, and we really can't look to anybody else to do anything for us, because anything they offer, even love in a relationship, it's up to us to decide if we're going to be open and vulnerable enough to accept it, or what we're going to do with it. So take that, expand that to anything we do in our lives, and it can be sometimes a lifelong struggle or practice to perfect that, where we fully accept what's happened to us, what is happening to us. But on the flip side, and the wonderful side, and what most people unfortunately get attracted to and then dump the whole process is manifesting, creating that life you really want. But you don't start there, folks. You don't start there. That's the end result. Enjoying the benefits of living the life you really want and can create. That is the outcome. It is not the journey in and of itself. And I think that's why people get so discouraged by and give up this whole practice of just manifesting in their life. We can call it intention manifestation. I don't know. Is there a new word for it decades later, Ashmeeta? Or are we still calling it intention and manifestation? I don't know.
Maybe law of attraction. I don't know.
Yeah, it's all the same stuff. It's been around for hundreds of years. But would you say now, Ashmeeta, that you are, I don't really want to say living proof necessarily, but a very good example? Are you living? I mean, listen, it takes time to get it all together, and it changes what we want. But do you consider yourself to be an example of you're living every day what you're thinking and creating as a result of those thoughts?
That is my goal, and that is what I live. That is my intention every moment that I'm alive. I have intention of doing certain things, and this is how I see the rest of my life going, because for me, I have basically come to a point where I just want to give. My journey for the rest of my life is I want to give back what I have received in all of these various different experiences that I've got.
Mm-hmm.
The what it gave to me, not the pain. I don't want to give the pain.
Yeah.
What I drew out of it, that the awareness allowed me to be able to get out of it, to be able to share that and leave that out there with anyone who can take that and make it their own based on what's going on with them. Because you know what? We're all learning till the day we die.
I just want to say one thing. When I say that, are you living that? It's a daily journey. So I should rephrase. It's really a daily journey. If we can get up every day, even if we have jobs we have to go to or any other obligations, raising children, whatever it is, whatever you can manage in your life to go, I am going to make this my day and get the joy from it, or accept the responsibilities or obligations, understanding you've created them at some level, you wanted them or needed them. So like, in other words, having children, yes, there's going to be tight time schedules and this, that, and volleying and this, but one day, you know what? They're not going to be with you. One day they're going to leave home. And then what are you going to do? And stuff like that. But anyway, the point is, on a much, sort of like umbrella idea to this, is as much as we can choose to love what we can about our day, and the parts that we can't love, at least accept them as something that we're in now and absolutely will change one day. Do you agree with that? And do you want to add anything to that, Ashmeeta?
I agree to that. And one of the really, cool things that kind of helped me a lot is forgiveness and gratitude. Forgiving myself and the person I believe hurt me, because, I believe now that it's never the other person, it's me, because I'm the one experiencing the experience, no matter what situation I'm in. Forgiveness on both sides, and as well as practicing gratitude. I'm grateful that, and you can practice gratitude in so many, grateful for what you have, grateful for the opportunities that you had. When I feel sad that that I don't have a husband.
Yes.
Grateful that I had 23 years to spend with him. I'm grateful for the time that we had together. It was a wonderful time.
Nice.
Memories will stay with me because they were memories we made together. He may not be here right now physically, believe in the afterlife or any of that, then I could be talking to him. Energy could still be around me. I mean, I talk to my mom a lot. That actually, I'm like, Mom, I don't know what to do in this situation, whatever it is. And out of the blue, I'd get some sign or something would just fall into place. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness. I've had many physical manifestations of visits from the afterlife that it's a no-brainer. Um, so if you believe that, people, that life is ongoing and in some form, pick the form that you want it to believe, energy, consciousness, whatever, it's all kind of the same thing. They are with us. Our loved ones really are with us. They're never really gone. But at the same time, both, I think, Ashmeeta, you and I, and everybody else I've talked to, and most people, we still need to pay homage to the grief part of it, the physical part that we're living. But it does make it a little more interesting when we have these signs and stuff, and you kind of go, oh, there is something more. So embrace the journey. You talk about embrace, empower, evolve, the 3 E's, embrace, empower, evolve. And I think we've kind of talked a lot about that in various ways today. I know it's in your work and it's certainly in everything I do, but it's so refreshing and wonderful to talk to another person on the journey. One of the things is you say that the experience of loss is not the end, but it's sort of a portal to a new beginning. And I just think that's so nice to remember. And there's going to be some losses that are going to be much more difficult to be able to accept that and go, yeah, it was okay that I lost my kid. I've got a great new beginning here. Without doubt, I will say the death of my daughter led me on a path I would never have gone on it. And I am going to say that. Does that mean I like that she died? No. Would I take the old me in a heartbeat? Right? I'm a way better version. Vaughn 2.0 is a way better version. But I love how we were talking earlier about just accepting it. I'm going to remember that, in the hardest of times, you're sitting there, lying there in your bed and just going, yeah, but this is it. This is my reality. But then further to that, thinking and not getting caught in it, but I'm not a victim. Do you think it's really key that when we don't have all the pieces of where we're going next, and it's really overwhelming, just trusting that the doors will open? Like, do you ask just for signs or just, opportunities? Just show me what to do next, whoever you're asking.
Well, that is where the whole faith and spirituality and faith and all of that kind of stuff comes in. Right?
Yes.
And I've used prayer a lot, and I have something that makes me feel peaceful. And because we kind of almost like in a fight and flight mode when you're experiencing grief, right?
Yes. Yeah.
In that, that's how I thought I was. Okay, so if my nervous system is totally on fire here, I need to do this thing. I need to bring it down to a peaceful state, because then I can work for a better foundation, right?
Yeah.
How do I do that? I need to tell myself, I need to let my nervous system know everything's okay. You're safe. You're fine. All is well. I just continually repeat to myself when I start feeling anxious is all is well. And I even tap my heart sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll just say, all is well. All
yeah.
is well. Incorporate some breathing into that as well, deep breathing.
Yeah, because technically, and for people that need therapy, please go get therapy, talk therapy, whatever kind of therapy, psychotherapy that you're involved in, because a lot of these, we need things sometimes for people to help us sort of see what we're up against. But I really believe, and it has been my experience, that you really can't make sound decisions and choices when you're all over the map. I love what you say, when your nervous system is on fire. That's not the time to be making decisions, people.
You're vulnerable at that time as well. The decisions you make may not be something you would make if you were in a different frame of mind and emotionally as well.
So if your nervous system is on fire, let it be on fire for as long as it needs to be on fire in that moment, because it will die itself down and calm itself down. And as Ashmeeta says, do those calming techniques and others that you might know and have gained elsewhere. The essential thing is to calm down, let the fear go. Just let the fear go and understand that solutions are there. But you're absolutely right, Ashmeeta. It's very hard to see solutions and trust and have faith unless you really have a practice in place to allow you to do that. And it's never too early to start, folks. And I say that if you could be any age, and if you haven't believed in anything, and if you're really mixed up about what you could have faith or hope in, because I know a lot of your work is also hope based, centered in finding and hanging on to hope. It all kind of works together, but developing a stronger or a new or just any kind of relationship to your spiritual self, your core, it's never too early to start that, or never too late. And what I mean by early is that you don't want to sit there and go, oh, well, my life has passed me by, I've missed out. No, you haven't. And by the same token, it's never too late. You can never be too long in any kind of journey or struggle to say, I think I'm done with this. I think I'm done with this. And we will, in my experience, we will have the body give us signs and our mind give us signs about how much more we want to tolerate or put ourselves through something that would be suffering. And this can change over years, and we can do it in bits and teeny tiny steps. And the fact is that we just want to do it and can recognize it. I think that's what is the important point here, which your work is all about, helping people recognize that, as is mine. So I do want to just talk quickly, close off with your resources, Ashmeeta. You have a Grief and Grow Challenge on Instagram. You've got a Facebook group. You've got a bunch of social media where people can connect with you. Are there any other resources that you're offering to people?
I can be contacted through my website. My contact details are all on my website. So I definitely do offer coaching to anyone who's interested.
So your website is storyyoutellyoursself.com. And from there, people can access all these wonderful resources and the beautiful work that you are doing to get people moving forward bit by bit. Yep.
Yes.
That's wonderful. I wish I had longer to chat and talk, because there's just so much that we've just started to unpack that is so critical, really, to how we experience anything difficult in our life. And at least you are offering a place where people can go share their story, think about their story differently. As I said earlier, and you've said, we all have a story, but it's what we want to do. I think we can shape our story as it changes throughout our life. Is that kind of your message with that?
That is my message, because I believe that I changed my story with my thoughts, out the way I see myself, from the things that used to bother me when I was younger. Because of my intentional changing of my thoughts and the way I saw things, my quality of life changed, and also my stress levels came down. And even being around those same people or same situations that used to stress me out or tense me up, over time, I noticed that those were not triggering me in that way anymore.
I would much rather have and share a story of empowerment and evolving, than one of victimhood and suffering, right? Two different stories. And we might actually be a bit of a player in the one, and we might have to tell one story for a while to get really clear about the story we do want to tell about who we are, not what our experiences are, who we are. That's a really key point you make, Ashmeeta, and I do want to leave the audience with that. It's a very key point, because too many people become their experiences, right?
Easy to do that. I mean, it's natural to do that. It's not like first thing we would do. I've done it too.
We all do it, and we can fall into it. So check what you're doing every day throughout the day. And if you want to be mad at something, get mad. But the empowerment is in recognizing that and deciding how long you want to be mad, what you want to be mad at, and then what you want to turn that energy of anger into. That is a win all in itself. And that's really, for me, what the empowerment is. It's not that you go out there and feel like you got it all together. None of us do.
No.
It's about really, really respecting everything we're made up of, and what we feel and what we emote, and understand the power we have to choose that, we maybe don't want that at all, or if we want it a little bit, how long? That's how I want to close this off with from my perspective.
It's about that choice, and how you view yourself. And we all have our things, our strengths and our weaknesses. All of that makes us who we are. I am, and I'm working on it.
We're always a work in progress. But the thing is, if we could just appreciate and respect that in each other, and we aren't coming from a culture that expects this high performing, perfection, and you're on all the time. It's called authenticity, people. I have looked in the dictionary. Is there another word in thesaurus for another word for authentic? No, there's not. And so in anything we do, business, anything we do, just to really be able to embrace all of just who we are and what we've come through and where we're going and how we can get there with a lot greater ease than struggle. This is amazing for anybody in this workspace. I just really love and appreciate all of us doing this work, because it helps those that aren't quite there yet. Anyway, audience, go visit Ashmeeta's website. We'll have the link in the show notes. And from there, you can connect with her in a number of different ways. Take her challenge, don't take her challenge, but whatever. You've got a lot of beautiful resources and a wonderful website. So I do want to thank you, Ashmeeta, for taking the time to share your knowledge and wisdom gained.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.